Okay, so good morning. I appreciate everybody who made the effort to come on day 4 so early to the Polyglot gathering. I'm not sure I would have had this stamina if I wasn't obliged to actually give the presentation. These events always have quite a hectic social schedule in addition to the presentations and being here. So I really appreciate the fact that so many people actually, I thought there'd be like three people really on a Sunday morning, so thank you very much. So most of you who know me, if you do know me, I'm Conor, and I'm probably best known for my blog and my vlog, my YouTube channel, The Language Czar, but today I'm giving this presentation in a completely different capacity as the Chief Operating Officer of the International Polyglot Society. So, I don't think very many of you will have heard of the International Polyglot Society before. It was founded about a year ago, and its basic purpose, it's a non-profit, incorporated in Germany, and like the original idea comes from the fact that there's no kind of umbrella organization to promote polyglot activities and multilingualism currently, or up until the IPS was founded. And that's a big gap in our overall structure as polyglots and promoting multilingualism. So that's basically the purpose, is to encourage people around the world to learn languages, to put it simply. And for all of us here who love languages, who most of us are polyglots or want to become polyglots, we're still a very, very small minority. For most people, polyglotism, especially if they're in experience a word, they probably don't even really understand what it means. So the International Polyglot Society was founded with the idea that we can promote polyglotism and multilingualism better by coordinating our activities. So why promote polyglotism and multilingualism in general? Those of us here who speak one language or more than one language, or aiming to speak more than one language, can really promote intercultural understanding, reduce prejudice, strengthen the global economy, unite people across national linguistic boundaries. I think that's something that multilingualism promotes, because it promotes having to understand different points of view. And this is something of, big value, great value for the world, and for something that we can really contribute to as polyglots. So this was founded about a year ago. I wasn't one of the original founders. It's a non-profit, as I said, and it's registered in Germany. So I'm selected as the Chief Operating Officer for last year. And the goals of the organization were to establish a polyglot network and creation of appropriate worldwide communication channels. One of the things I had seen a bit lacking, and it always irked me when I watched, like, say, I won't pick one particular TV station, we'll say a global TV network, is that they invite on an expert to talk about multilingualism, and inevitably it's normally some representative of a company that's selling a language product. It's not actually, moreover, most of the people who are claiming to be experts in that capacity, a lot of them at most speak 2 languages, a lot of them are even monolingual, right? There's currently no structure in place where polyglots themselves can communicate with the media, with the general public at large, and promote multilingualism and polyglotism. It's something that I've seen as a huge gap and a huge problem with spreading our message of multilingualism. So by having a reference point as an organization that becomes an organization for polyglots, this allows us to have a point where we can promote it from a central point of view as really people who are doyens about the topic and who are passionate about it. Also, in terms of, we're all here at the Polyglot Gathering, right? So we're all probably aware of also the other conferences that go on either in Montreal, the Fête de Langue, I see Steve Coughlin is here, and of course the Polyglot Conference, which is organized by Richard Simcott and Alex Rollins, which will be in Reykjavik later, But for most people, how do people here find out of interest about the Polyglot Gathering? How did you guys find? Twitter? Twitter over there? YouTube? Facebook? So, organizers, okay. So we have a few different ways of finding out, but basically you are either following someone who's personally involved here, yeah? So you were following their content because you love their content they're producing about learning languages, and then they happen to mention on their Facebook or in a YouTube video, hey, we're going to be here at this Polyglot Gathering, you went and you checked it out. That's great because, of course, we're the ones who are probably, you know, most involved in terms of being passionate in terms of language learning using these social media channels. But for the general public at large, they're not going to be likely to be following, you know, a major language YouTuber. Maybe they're interested in going to a conference. You know, maybe they go on Google and they stumble across it. But there's no central point where they could come and see like an agenda of what's going on throughout the year, right? And I think this is a major something that we can really contribute to by centralizing all this kind of information and acting as this reference point. You can read through the different goals. I took out a sample of them from the statute for the foundation of the IPS, or International Polyglot Society. And you can see there that, I mean, if you go later on and read the full lot, it's actually in German, by the way. So this is actually my translation to kind of help you. It was found in German, so we have to have everything in German. But basically, it's we also looked at bridging the gap between science, industry, and polyglots to promote the importance of multilingualism. And I think that's something that's also been lacking. One of the things that always struck me at these events is polyglots discussing that it's hard to find a job or that's highly rewarding and financially, in fact, with languages. And by being multilingual and promoting polyglotism and being involved in language learning and language acquisition, or just being enthusiastic about learning, this is something that statistically provides great value. I mean, there's a kind of almost hackneyed statistical analysis that says if you learn German, it's going to add X amount of money to your salary of your lifetime. I can't remember what it is, maybe it's $35,000, let's calculate that. And Spanish is $10,000. So learning languages and being multilingual, never mind speaking just about English as learning as a second language, is something that's very powerful, also economically, a driving industry. And again, that's not really something that up until now polyglots as a group have been contributing towards in an organized fashion. So that's also something else that we really want to, not just with the media, but also with industry, to have this channel that we can really promote people who are multilingual going forward. And of course, promoting social awareness about linguistic diversity, preserving languages, minority languages. I mean, I think at the moment, someone's probably going to correct me, but there's 6,000 active languages spoken on the planet, but I think it's close to half are endangered. I mean, once you lose a language, you lose that cultural legacy. So promoting things like linguistic diversity and preservation of minority languages is also one of the goals of the organization. So, as a concrete step, we've decided to create a survey for you guys who are polyglots, and Marilyn will hand out a few of them. You haven't seen them at reception. So we wanted to analyze how polyglots learn languages. There's no kind of study done intersubjectively by polyglots themselves about how we approach language learning. All that I've seen. I wrote an article maybe about 2 or 3 years ago, and I'd actually researched and I couldn't find anything online by polyglots saying, hey, this is the general learning styles we use, the methods, the goals, the results we get from different styles of learning. Most of the research is usually done by people who are not multilingual themselves, and I found this very unsatisfactory, and they tend to label us into all these categories. So to produce something that, to start off with, we have this project to kind of collate all your guys' answers and create some basic beginning on some statistical analysis about how polyglots themselves, at least polyglots who attend these events, like the conference and the gathering, how we learn languages. And that's something that I think will be a real great value about language acquisition. So we're going to pass that around. So please take your time and fill that out if you could today. The basic criterion is that you speak 5 languages or more. But how you define them is up to you. We're not very strict about the level. So if you feel like you can contribute with your own experiences about language learning, please fill that out. So this presentation is very short, primarily because I wanted to take a lot of questions from you guys and get ideas and get you involved in the International Polyglot Society. So as I mentioned at the beginning, I was elected to the board last year, and I was the Chief Operating Officer. And today we actually have our annual assembly to elect a new board. So I would really encourage you, if you feel that you can contribute, that you're excited and passionate about language learning and promoting this message, that you come to the meeting later and of course, vote and put yourself forward if you have a particular skill set that you feel that is valuable for the organization. So particularly, we're working on a website. We actually have all the content already produced. We just need to do take the next technical steps to get it going and have it online. So definitely, if you have that kind of experience, that would be really, really valuable. And we're going to have that this evening in the assembly room at 8 p.m. You need to be a paid member of the International Polyglot Society. So the annual fees are 35 euros. So you have to be paid up money, but you can pay on when you arrive this evening. There's nothing to worry about it beforehand.
Paid member for electing or participating?
For both. For the annual meeting, yeah. There's different categories. There's actually a slightly cheaper membership fee, but then you don't have voting rights. So you could come and participate. I think it's 20 euros, but I think it was 20 for that. But I'll check that afterwards if anyone's interested in the non-voting rights, just to come and contribute to the organization. So as I said, this is just a brief overview of what the International Polyglot Society is. It's something that I've seen a need for over the last few years as this community has come together from all across the world. I mean, this all started with a few highly motivated and innovative polyglots making their own videos isolated on YouTube, and then seeing each other's videos come together online. Eventually, they started to meet in real life with these kind of events being organized, first with the Polyglot Conference, then with the Polyglot Gathering, and now with the Fête de Langue in Montreal. And I think the next step is to really have an organization that can help to coordinate polyglotism and spread its message as we go forward. And this is why the International Polyglot Society, for me, has will have a lot of value for polyglots and multilingualism across the world. So I'd like to open up the floor to questions and your ideas about how we could serve you guys better as polyglots, promote multilingualism, and how you think the society could make an impact on the world. I see Steve already has a question.
I have a quick question here where you are asked to evaluate our levels, and you offer both either oral and written. You mean ability to write or ability to read?
Well, both. It's only done as one oral and written, So, yeah, both combined. It doesn't have to be so precise, I guess. So when you're finished with the questionnaire, if you could drop it out just outside on the left when you came into the conference, you'll see a table where you're all registered, and there's a place there to leave the completed questionnaires. I see Steve is already milling his way through all the questions.
Because if I don't, I probably won't do it and I'll forget about it.
This may be an unfair question to throw out, but I'm very conscious of how sort of first world, if we can still use those sort of terms, the events are. Is there anything that we could do to actually reach out to other parts of the world? I'm conscious of attending these events that in many ways it's quite a limited pool of people. It's inevitable people have the resources to travel and take time out and so on. It's a difficult one to do anything about, but I was just wondering whether that was on the agenda.
Yeah, that's something that we discussed is, I guess, along with minority languages or in general, places that multilingualism is under threat or is not really as advanced. So by having this centralized organization that can help promote, of course, those who want to take part, they want to create something similar, say if it was in and we haven't had anything in Africa or Asia so far as a community, then that's something that we could help, help them with just resources, information, how to get started, and then of course promote it, right? Because then we would have a centralized agenda, people see what's going on, and there'd definitely be a huge resource, because I remember the first Polyglot conference and the huge risks that we're taking about whether it would succeed, because no one knew, are people even going to come? It's just people have been watching on YouTube, and it's one thing when people say, yes, that's a great idea, is when people, as you say, limited resources decide to come. So I agree, definitely, Gary, that's one of the goals.
One thing that strikes me is, Peter, that there are so many people here who speak so many languages. It's absolutely mind-blowing. There's like 500-600 people, and they've all got 5, 6, 8 languages. And it's not like we got 3 freaks here. We have like 600 people. So therefore, probably we are not very different from the average person, right? The only difference is that we are motivated, we think we know how to learn, we take initiative and stuff. So the things that run through my mind as I watch your presentation is that maybe polyglotism could be a norm. Like it's possible to imagine a world where lots of people speak many languages. So, but the reality is that most people have trouble learning one foreign language. So then the question is, how do we make polyglotism the norm? What are the obstacles that those people face that we have overcome? I think that should be an important part of your activity, and one that I partly support. And I'd be interested in hearing opinions on just what those obstacles are and how we would remove those obstacles so that we would grow from 600, we could be 6,000 or 60,000, potentially.
Thanks for that one, Steve. That's a very good point. How can we help and expand this from 600, as Steve said, language freaks, to the language norm, and make polyglotism just an everyday phenomenon? And what are the big barriers for people to learning languages? Most of us start learning languages at school, and at least in my experience and what I hear from nearly all language learners who come to these events is that the school system in terms of language acquisition has failed. That's only one element, is the techniques, but of course that goes to, for example, the survey, why it's valuable. We're in a sense, the experts in learning multiple languages, and how most of us go about learning languages, not how languages are taught at school. And the other big factor is whether people feel they have the necessary motivation to go and learn languages, and that's obviously a complicated mix of cultural, financial incentives that we can look at. Polyglotism or multilingualism as the norm. I mean, I was going to say there are places in India and Africa where it's normal to speak 5 or 6 languages, even places in Europe like Luxembourg where it's more or less the norm. I remember when I lived in Brussels previously, and they tried to set up something like a polyglot evening. It was always pretty difficult to get people to come, because Brussels is a place where nearly everybody speaks multiple languages. It was kind of counterintuitive for me. Well, if there's so many people speaking languages, why don't they want to get together? Well, it's because they're not isolated like they might be if they were in another place, like where I grew up on the west coast of Ireland. Meeting someone who speaks more than, say, Irish and English is more of a rarity. So definitely, to make that just the norm, or even that people understand the word polyglot, that's also one of the goals. Thanks, Steve.
I would like to ask you a following question. Like, the people that I have met over here this is my first polyglot conference, so after talking to the people, I have seen that most of the people are driven by passion here. And we form this group Polyglot. Now, if I say polyglot community, then I can categorize it into two people, like two type of polyglots, like one is driven by passion and the other is the utilitarian perspective, like those who are forced to learn languages, so they also become at times polyglots. I don't know whether that falls under the definition of polyglot, but there are many people who are driven by passion, and there is a group of people who are driven to learn languages from the utilitarian perspective. In view of the modern technologies, that is, for example, AI or automatic translation that is coming up, how do you see in the next 10 years, how are we going to propagate polyglotism in different parts of the world? Like, for example, what Google Translate used to do in 2010 and what it does now is way different and is getting better and better and better. So how are we going to defy that so that we don't become a dwindling species in the earth?
I didn't quite hear how you described the species, a dwindling species?
I mean, it's just getting smaller in my view.
Yeah, which is a great thing. I think it makes it a lot easier to promote multilingualism. It makes it easier to learn languages. I remember, from high school that like I'm old enough to know what it's like to go to school without a laptop, without having internet connectivity, in the room, that you can't check information, you can't find, translation quickly. All these things are a real boon to multilingualism, I think, because it just makes learning languages or communicating with people from all over the world so much easier. I mean, there was a time where people had pen pals and they would write letters, they'd send them, they'd wait a week or two for them to come back, they'd have to look up every word in the dictionary. Today you can go onto, kind of like a website that will allow you to have a language exchange in real time, immediately, with people from all over the world. You can find endangered languages or minority languages, like even Irish, for example, where I was born, you can find this almost instantaneously. So, yeah, definitely technology provides opportunities. Anything that, that changes fundamentally how we communicate presents opportunities. Obviously, it maybe changes things as well for good or bad. That's not how technology changes. It just changes as there's progress, and it's easier. We need to take advantage of all those opportunities. So, yeah, definitely, polyglotism, from my point of view, should become easier to promote multilingualism. More of a need, you're in communication with more people. Of course, this kind of argument, then we can all just find a global lingua franca easier, since we have the resources to do that, and we have, it simplifies things. But multilingualism, as far as I can see it, and I see there's also a fellow Irishman in the audience, Aidan. I gave a presentation at the Polyglot Conference in Novi Sad about 2 years ago. And I looked at minority language, and Irish is an interesting case because Irish today, even though it's a minority language and spoken natively by less than 5% of the population, the number of speakers is increasing. And that's because technology facilitates it. Duolingo has Irish, right? I can't remember, I don't know exactly how many languages they have. I guess it's less than 20. But Irish and Esperanto are two of them, two minority languages that then get promoted on a global stage. I saw an article in the Irish newspapers, and they had over 1 million users or something of Irish Duolingo, for example. To get Irish students to learn it to any decent level, that's very hard. I mean, most people left maybe 2 years later, they can't even have a conversation of the language. But now, thanks to technology, you can take advantage of new opportunities to promote a minority language or multiple languages a lot easier. So I'm enthusiastic. I'm a believer in not trying to defy, technology and process, just trying to exploit it and take advantage of it. So.
Hi, Conor. So I think it's really good that there is a structure of people to promote this. What I have noticed though is that there are people who are actively promoting the opposite. So when I look at News for Languages, there are people out there who are writing articles, blogs, videos and so on, saying nobody should need to learn a language in the future because the phone apps will become so good, and even our Google Glass will be able to translate that nobody should even have to bother with the language anymore. Now maybe it's just a negativity thing or laziness, but when we are trying to promote this, there are people out there who are trying to promote the opposite. So when I see these articles, I comment and I say, communicating through an app, it's not the same as having a real conversation with a real human being, real feelings and a real exchange. Can you recommend any other counter-arguments? So the next time I see something like that, apart from saying it's not the same as really talking to somebody, what are other good arguments for why multilingualism is better than an online translator or a phone app?
Well, first is quality of communication. I think that's what you were getting at about just having a real conversation. Of course, technology is going to improve, and that's an argument to make. Hey, we'll just all click a button and Google Translate, and I'll get this simultaneous translation into my native tongue, and that will be just so instantaneous. At the moment, that's not even close to reality, right? So there's still obviously a big difference technologically. There can be, in the future, maybe we're talking 10, 20 years, that can be overcome. But there's more to multilingualism than just having the conversation. It's also about information. It's a little bit similar to the, having a global lingua franca. Is that a good thing or bad thing, right? People can communicate maybe more, but then there will probably be one dominant philosophy that comes from that. And multilingualism promotes different points of views. I once did a video, I was asked in a radio interview about the value, kind of in a similar way, and I give the example of where I get my news from. Right? I get my news from different sources in different languages, and if you've got a hot political topic, like say something about, we'll just take Ukraine because I'm there often, you can read press in Russian, and then if you can read it in Ukrainian and really understand it, then you have a more balanced point of view. So I think in terms of promoting more points of view, it's very important. Right? Whether machine translation can really capture that, I don't think so. At the moment, of course, we can think 20 years. Learning languages forces you to understand other people's points of view. It forces you to understand a culture. It's not just simply about words. It's about, and every language encapsulates a period of human history, a legacy that's been evolving over time. And losing that would certainly, in my view, be a loss for humanity. So I don't know if Aidan, there are particularly convincing arguments to you, but there were two I gave. Have you thought of any new arguments yourself? Or you've heard other counter-arguments that you thought were valuable?
Also that communication is not just verbal, there's body language, there's facial expression, tone of voice.
Okay, as opposed to,
Words, yes.
okay, yeah, that's good.
Robot voice is very monotone, there's no emotion or emphasis. The human voice has tone and emphasis.
Okay, well and if you were to make a counter-argument to that argument, you say, well, technology will catch up and then we'll be able to somehow communicate all that tone, and we can have some sort of hologram image of someone making the gestures maybe, but yeah, at the moment that's still a long way away. I'll take another question.
I should just comment to this question or counter. Well, I have a very geeky counter-argument for the question that you posed. Like, language is all about emotions, and emotions cannot be digitized into binary weights of zeros and ones. So, I don't think we are going to reach the level very soon where we'll have digitized language translations or exchange or communication. So, we still need a long time to reach over there. So, you can put this argument to them, oppose that.
Hi. There's one thing that's kind of been bothering me about this conversation, comparing kind of independent language learning approaches to academic approaches. I often hear a lot of sort of casual insults or putting down of teachers of languages. And I think that that's counterproductive for an International Polyglot Society. That really you ought to, I'm a language teacher, you ought to invite teachers of languages, educators in language, to be a part of this organization and this conversation.
I don't think there's any, it's not mutually exclusive. You can be a an educator and joined the International Polyglot Society, what we're trying to look at is how people who speak lots of languages actually learn them. That may turn out to be similar to what has been usually the standard in terms of teaching languages, something that's obviously evolving, but I think that's where we can contribute. And yeah, I don't see anything as mutually exclusive. Maybe that's just how you interpreted it, but I mean, whether someone's an educator or they're just a language learner, they can be both. So I don't really understand the...
Well, research into language learning isn't just used by independent learners of languages. I mean, people who teach languages also pay attention to the research and innovation and everything. Sometimes there's a false dichotomy that's set up.
Okay, well that's something I'll bear in mind, but being an educator, I don't see that as a kind of an independent language learner. I mean, I consider myself an independent language learner, but I have tutors who tutor me. They're educators. Yeah, it's not mutually exclusive, it's something additional, it's kind of a whole philosophy, but educators are of course vital in that. No one learns a language on their own, in reality, so.
I find that this is often promoted by people selling a product for independent learning, that you don't need a teacher. So I mean, it's not true. I mean, the teacher is always better, but having a tool is better than nothing at all.
Yeah, of course.
It's invaluable. I mean, it's the best thing you can get. It's hard to.
Like, who is your teacher? It might be someone you pay for their time to teach you personally, or it could be people who, your social network, they're also teaching you. But yeah, I mean, if that's what you see, that people have products who just want to say, no, you have to listen to our software product, you will speak Hindi in 3 days, 5 minutes, I don't know, download it, then of course that has to be taken. You always have to look at people's incentives, right? If someone has a product, then of course they have an incentive in promoting that, right? Financially, so you have to. This is actually a good point about how I started, is that I saw these experts being brought on, just my own personal observation, talking about multilingualism, language learning, and then I'm like, this guy or girl is, probably almost entirely monolingual English speaker who doesn't educate but has a product, and they're now an expert. And that's certainly something that I think we can help overcome and really provide people with a better idea. There are certain language products that I don't think are very effective personally. Other people may have a better experience with them, but they're almost like the word that people will blurt out if they're not really as knowledgeable about language learning as the gold standard. And it's something that personally, I found to be very ineffective. But why? Because they have very good marketing. I watched their marketing, I'm thinking one company, I won't say, but I really wanted to work because it's so great, their marketing, right? So, definitely I think that's something we should aim to help overcome. I'll just go to this side.
Is it for me? Is it for me?
I have a question.
Yeah, go for it. Raise hands.
So I don't know about you or the rest of you here, but I tend to be really hesitant to tell the average person that I speak a bunch of languages, because I find, especially in English-speaking countries and also in Japan, where I lived for a long time, it's just such an unusual thing that people tend to be like really incredulous about it, and they're just like so surprised, and they immediately just want to say, "Oh my God, you're a genius! How do you speak all these languages?" And I don't want to be seen like as a genius, and I don't really know how to respond in that kind of reaction in a way that will convince the person, actually, I just worked really hard learning all these languages, and you could do the same thing if you wanted to. But it's just so, people are just like so incredulous, and I don't know, I find I tend to like almost, like if people ask me, well, how many languages do you know? I tend to be very conservative, and I'll just say like, my 3 best languages, because, if I list all of them, people will they'll just be so shocked. And I'm just wondering if you have any ideas on, how to deal with that, the reaction of the average person to being a polyglot.
Maybe the only
Let me just start with that.
Oh, yes. It was difficult this morning, like my brain still.
Believe me, my brain is also not fully active yet. I need a little bit more coffee. So, I think that's, for me personally, a really great observation. That's something actually I felt a lot before I found this community. I actually didn't tell people how many languages I spoke, especially if they were an English native speaker. People tended to look at me a little bit strangely, like I'm a little bit of an alien, because their idea of what you can do in terms of language learning is maybe, yes, you know, a bit better than high school Spanish and maybe something else. But when you start to tell people, yes, my name is Conor and I speak X number of languages, that's just too fantastic. And it seems like a scary, a scary phenomenon to people if they think I'm struggling to learn my first foreign language and this freak here learning can already speak 10. They're different to me, and it's not the case. There was a time in my life where I only spoke English and I was an adult. Right? So what I found is that it's been a slow process. I just promote it. I say, yeah, I mean, people normally observe if I'm traveling somewhere that I speak the language. I'm like, yeah, actually, I'm really passionate about languages. It's something that I've struggled with, but I've overcome because of just, you know, in school, either because of the instruction or my own motivation. I wasn't able to learn languages, and then later on, I've been successful at learning them relative to before, for sure. And I'm actually surprised by the reaction. It's overwhelmingly positive, and then it made me reflect and think, well, why was it? It's because maybe I felt a little bit insecure about being different before I found this community. And actually, if you're passionate and you promote it, then people respond to that. Who isn't impressed by someone who can speak 10, 20, 30 languages? I come here and I feel like, God, I hardly speak anything. You know, you hang out for a weekend with Richard Simcoe and Skopje, and you're like, yeah, I should just quit. I shouldn't have an interview. Look at this guy, right? It's all relative. So yeah, being passionate and really promoting because it's something that you believe brings value. I think that's the best way. It includes everybody. I mean, why do we come together? We're helping to feed each other's enthusiasm. You know, with this common interest that we have, and what we, you know, believe that self-value to the world, what we take a lot of value from for ourselves. So thanks for that question. Yeah. I'll give the floor to.
Apologies for my brain problem this morning. One of the questions I had was your take on whether passive knowledge should be valued, because I feel it's a little bit undervalued. Like, for instance, when you look at the European, reference levels, you know, it's always about, you can tell me how do you speak, and sometimes you can say, okay, I'm B2 or even a C in passively because I speak related languages or whatever, but I can't really express myself because I don't know, I can't even think of how to conjugate a verb or whatever. So I was just wondering whether you thought maybe there should be some kind of maybe other levels or that would be, to describe that.
I guess that one requires coming up with our own standards. That's not a bad idea. I mean, why is something become standard? Normally because it's adopted, it's familiar to people, it's something we can refer to. Yeah? I mean, why isn't, you know, I think it's the foreign State Department of Foreign Policy, I can't remember there's an American also grading system for these, but it doesn't have the same ring to us because just the European standard has just proliferated quicker. And that happens a lot with standards. You make that. Standards are always arbitrary, right? You have to tick a box and you say you're B2 for something. Yeah, it's kind of fraught with getting exact, but it's an approximation. It gives us an idea. So passive knowledge, yeah, that's something that you put in. I mean, you can understand things, and that's what you want to say, but you're not able to use it actively. I think that is normally captured a little bit in those standards in terms of comprehension, for example. Should we value that higher? That's a debate to be had. Create a new standard, that's a good idea. Why do we just accept the standards are there? And that goes to the survey a lot. I mean, how we learn languages as a group, and there's lots of methods, and also how we think, you know, we should grade. Actually, in the article I wrote 2 or 3 years back, I surveyed a lot of the polyglots who I knew. It wasn't as organized as obviously here where I could take in, you know, such a wider group of people, but I asked the leading polyglots who had, you know, social media presence, basically, right? And I asked them all individually, okay, how do you think we should define a polyglot? How do you think we should define the number, you know, the levels that we speak it to? And I got a whole range of opinions. Right? And that's something that we can also look at now as an organization. The reason I did it with my own blog and blog is because there was no information out there, as in, from polyglots themselves. It was always an academic trying to analyze it. It was really fraught for me, just the methodology. So definitely that's something that we can contribute to. So yeah, that's great. Thanks for that. Yeah, we're finished completely? Oh God, okay. So thank you. 8 p.m. annual meeting, and I look forward to your ideas, your participation, the results of the survey, and again, a big thanks for coming so early on a Sunday. I probably, humbly, I feel very grateful for it, so thank you.